In the play A Streetcar Named Desire, we can see the idea of the representation of power by Tennessee Williams from the very beginning of the play, with Stella and Stanley relationship, in which Stanley is the head of the household, who has the power over everything that happens in their relationship and even controls all the actions of his wife, Stella. This behavior is maintained this way until Stella's sister Blanche arrives at the house, something that makes Stanley feel threatened by her, as it is a problem in terms of his position of power within the home and his relationship with Stella. Because of this, Stanley does his best to get Blanche out of the house and take her away from Stella, getting to the point of abusing her and subsequently denying what happened, in order to object dementia against her and to convince Stella to take her to a mental hospital away from them.
The manner in which Blanche is characterized allows us to understand that she is a lonely person. She is full of tenderness, pain, and desperation. In that sense, the reader feels compassion for her. When we read the play, we sympathize with Blanche because she is classified as a victim rather than valued as a person. However, Blanche is the victim of Stanley, her brother-in-law, even though she tried to make him the victim when she asked her sister to escape with the baby as far as possible. But in reality, she is the victim of Stanley's abuse and violence. In addition, she is a victim of Stanley because she is emotionally unstable and he believes that no one will believe her version of the story. A fact that really happened, so she could also be considered a victim of the misogynistic society in which she lived, where the word of a man has more weight than that of a woman. On the other hand, aside from Stanley, Blanche is a traditional victim who has lost her lifestyle, her home, her wealth, and her illusions, shattered by the death of her young husband and what she has had to live with after that. In conclusion, despite the fact that each of the characters fight against their own demons and are victims of their own beliefs and thoughts, notwithstanding, Blanche can be considered the victim of a streetcar named Desire from whatever perspective you analyze the story. On the play, the bathroom was a safe place. When a character was shocked, agitated, or insecure about something, they would go straight to the bathroom. For example, when Mitch felt confused in scene 3, he went to the bathroom to calm down. On the other hand, the act of bathing has a similar meaning within the play. When a character suffers anxiety, they take a bath in order to soothe their nerves. In fact, Blanche said in scene 8, "I take hot baths for my nerves. Hydrotherapy, they call it." So, in other words, after the bath, the characters felt refreshed, cool, and rested.
Men and masculinity are presented during the play through the author's use of Stanley's violent nature, taking into consideration also the constant power of a struggle between males and females during the time shown. This can be evidenced by analyzing how these ideals are portrayed in the play. The characters of Stanley and Blanche are presented as polar opposites, with Blanche being representative of the soft, sensitive, and delicate. On the contrary, Stanley represents the savage and brutal nature of modern men, seen also in his masculine trait with his wife Stella showing dominance over her in the domestic relationship. Stanley is a character that displays masculinity, power, and violence through the use of a predatory and animalistic image. Masculinity is finally presented as the reason for destruction, specifically Blanche's downfall. The period of time in which we live conditions our behavior, thoughts, and dealing with people, in the sense that some actions are or are not accepted in society. In the case of gender roles, if you were a man or a woman, you are expected to follow some standards of living or to behave and act in a certain way, depending on the period of time. Around the 20th century, men and masculinity were reflected and shown in the power and dominance over women. These topics are clearly portrayed in the play. For example, Stanley was the one that had control over his wife and the house rules. He even got into the point in which he manipulated, beat, and hurt his own wife and sister-in-law. These actions were repeated several times during the development of the play, represented that violence and abuse was normalized and justified by society, something that currently is not well seen. On the other hand, in that period of time, it was expected that women aspired to specific roles, like being the mother, being the one that was in charge of the house, and being compliant without protesting to their husbands, values that Sally promotes in Stella. Fortunately, nowadays the gender roles have evolved and have been reevaluated.
Additionally, another specific role in society evident in the play where socioeconomical classes are still differentiated and condition the way in which we live and the treatment that we receive from others. For example, when Blanche arrives at her sister's house, she starts to complain about her sister's way of life, because it actually said that Stella lived in miserable and unsuitable conditions. In that way, she judges and looks at less the social class that her sister establishes. The roles that people belonging to different social classes have had still remained the same. Even today, social classes condition your standard of living way, affecting the different realities of society. In conclusion, the period of time in which we live conditions in different ways our roles and behaviors in society, and these roles can evolve or remain constant over time.